Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Andy H. Wynn, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation today will be delivered by Pastor Brian McFadden from the Church on Rush Creek in Arlington. Appreciate you coming out today. After the invocation, please remain standing for our pledges.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you for who you are, knowing that you are the creator of all things. God, as we enter into this season of Thanksgiving, we're reminded of your grace and mercy that you show us every day, and we are forever grateful for that. God, we just lift up every person and family represented in this room. We pray for their health and their well-being. God, I just pray that you lead the decisions that are made here this morning, and we ask that you guide those making those. Father, we just love you, and we pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Pastor, again for coming out today. Mr. Manius?
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we have two announcements relating to today's agenda. The first is under the Criminal Courts, item 8D2. There is a revised court communication in your red folder this morning as it relates to that particular item. Also, members of the Court, under Purchasing, item 8J7. This is the miscellaneous changes to the purchasing policies and procedures. We're going to ask that we hold that for 1 week. We'll bring that back next week. Also, members of the Court, would like to advise you or remind you that next Monday, the 20th, at 4 p.m. in the afternoon, we're going to have a special call meeting of the Commissioners Court for the purpose of canvassing the votes of the last election. And then also that we will not have court on November 28th.
November what?
28th. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of November the 7th.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We have one proclamation today, and it's on Tarrant.
Your Honor, I'm sorry. The person that's going to accept this proclamation is about 5 minutes out, so we...
She is?
Yes.
Well, then we're not going to do it at this point.
And, well, what we can do is whenever she comes here, we can go to that part of the agenda, if that's okay with you.
That just works great.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We have before you the consent agenda.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Manius.
Thank you.
You're up.
Yes, Ms. McMillan is going to be presenting the first two of our session.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning.
On the first item, the Fort Worth Tax Increment Financing Zone Board, Zone Number 4 Board, recently approved the use of historic site tax exemption by the City of Fort Worth for 3 properties within the TIF zone: 1119 Pennsylvania Avenue, 1001 Bryan Avenue, and 201 South Calhoun. I have included in your packet some slides that show pictures of those sites and what they're currently being used for now and how they have been rehabbed. The use of historic site tax exemption provides for an incentive for preservation, protected, and adaptive reuse of historically significant buildings within the zone. To be eligible for the exemption, a property must be designated as a historic and cultural landmark or as a highly significant endangered property by the Fort Worth Historic Landmark Commission and have rehabilitation costs equal to or exceeding the greater of 30% of the assessed value of the structure prior to rehabilitation or $3,000, and apply for the designation within 5 years of the work. The exemption provides a freeze on city taxes for a period of 10 years for the HC, or the historic and cultural landmark designated properties, or 10 to 15 years for the historically significant endangered properties. This historic site tax exemption does apply only to the city of Fort Worth taxes and will not impact Tarrant County or the hospital district's contribution amounts to the TIF zone. The state tax code requires that for properties within the TIF zone that have a historic site tax exemption, all the governing bodies of the participating entities within a TIF must approve the use of this exemption. Just as a reminder, under the current participation agreements for TIF 4, both the county and the hospital district are participating at 50% of their increment, and the county's max is approximately $8.5 million in that TIF zone, and the hospital district's maximum contribution is approximately $7.3 million. The zone is set to expire in 2022. However, it's anticipated that the county and hospital district will reach their cap amounts in 2020. So today, we're just simply asking that the Commissioners Court approve the resolution that provides for approval of the use of historic site tax exemption by the City of Fort Worth for 3 properties located in the Fort Worth Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone Number 4, the Southside TIF, those being 1119 Pennsylvania Avenue, 1001 Bryan Avenue, and 2001 South Calhoun Street in the City of Fort Worth.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. My next item, we're asking approval for the issuance of Series 2017 Retirement Community Revenue Notes by the Tarrant County Cultural Education Facilities Finance Corporation for Methodist retirement communities in an amount not to exceed $18 million. The Cultural Education Facilities Finance Corporation Board of Directors has approved this issuance, and the notes will be used to finance the cost of acquiring approximately 19 acres of land at the southeast corner of Alta Mesa Boulevard and Bryant Irvin in the city of Fort Worth, where MRC plans to construct a new facility, which will consist of approximately 160 independent living units, 36 assisted living units, and 24 memory support units with 40 nursing beds. Financing for the actual facility construction will be provided for in a future issuance. The public hearings and notices have all been provided. There are no known restrictions on the land for use, and they have provided a letter acknowledging the county's HUD policy. Again, the Tarrant County Cultural Education Finance Facilities Corporation will issue the notes, and Tarrant County is not liable for the repayment of these. This is simply an action for tax-exempt purposes.
Move approval. Second, for the sake of discussion. How do revenue notes differ from the bonds that we typically approve through this organization?
So the state law allows for notes or bonds, and the reason the notes are used is because this is such a small issuance. The notes are packaged and sold to one individual buyer. The bonds themselves, because of the large amounts, sometimes they are packaged in chunks to different institutions, but these are called notes because they're going to one buyer because of the low amount.
And this $18 million is exclusively
The
for
land.
the purchase of the land,
Correct.
which is in my precinct, and this is the first I've heard of it?
It's it's going to be right where the extension of Bryan
I
Irvin
know
starts.
where it is. Okay.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Not a good move.
Commissioner, we apologize for the oversight. We'll try to make sure that doesn't happen again. Members of the court, if we can go to item number 3, we're requesting that the court approve the TexShare Court 2018 Resource Sharing Addendum between Tarrant County and the Texas Conference of Urban Counties.
What's the $1 million
Yes.
Is that for implementation support?
That's not for implementation, but it is for the maintenance and operation of the software itself. Our
But the
policy,
software is not developed yet. How can we
well,
pay?
the software is developed and
Are you sure?
well, quite frankly,
My understanding is the core of the software has not developed yet and is not completed until the end of 2018.
The
If we're lucky.
the
Then why are we
implementation.
paying
Whoa,
support?
whoa. Let him finish.
Okay, the implementation aspect is going on now. It'll be fully implemented by December of 18. Our policies with the Tech Share program is that once software is developed and it's ready for implementation, and it's being implemented right now in Dallas County. In fact, it's my understanding that they're going through smoke tests now, and they should be fully implemented by April and June of next year. But our policy on the Tech Share program is that whenever the software becomes ready to be implemented, that we begin to pay maintenance and operation.
Right, but the software is not ready. That's my question. The software has not been developed.
Andy?
Some minor part of the software are developed and are installed, but the core of the software, the case management piece, has not been developed and is not scheduled to be completed and fully developed until December of 2018. So my question is, why are we paying maintenance and support for a piece of software that are not fully implemented?
Okay, so first of all, you might remember last week we brought this check in to you all because we've already completed the development of phase 1 of court. We're in the process of finishing development of phase 2. But our policy with the Tech Share program is whenever the software begins to be implemented, and it's implemented in Dallas. Now, what's happening here is that there's some modifications to the core software that Tarrant County has requested, and they're working through that process now. According to the CUC, the entire software will be implemented by December of 18. So once it becomes ready to be implemented, then we begin to pay the M&O. We've done that with our other
So
projects.
this $1 million, is it for the M&O or is it for the implementation?
This here is for the M&O, and part of that M&O cost includes some of the upgrades or specificities that we've requested
And that's
in
what-
software.
We just finished the first phase of the implementation, which is basically determine how we operationally, how we are using the court processes and so forth. Basically, now we are moving on to the second phase, which is a fit gap analysis, right?
Well,
so
it's-
we are in the implementation. What I don't understand is the software is in the process of implementation. It's not in yet,
But
we are paying M&O.
we pay M&O whenever the software is at a point where that it can be implemented. Now, that's a policy that the court has had in the past.
And
that's
here's
what
the
we're trying to
reason
do here.
we hit that policy was because we were not large enough to be implementing in more than one location at a time. So when the development was complete and we began the implementation, if we didn't continue to maintain and operate and make changes, then you had one county where it was being implemented and they would have to pay all of the M&O costs, as opposed to all the counties who were a part of and partnered in the development continuing to pay for the improvement of the program as we were going forward. So we're scheduled to begin implementation, I believe, next year.
Actually, we have already, there's the data conversion aspect of this. There's 4 iterations of that. We've already completed the first of those iterations. And we came across certain things that we expect to come across. And that's a process that we continue to do until we get to the point that we're not only fully implemented, but ready to go. And that's going to be in December of 18.
December of 18.
Yes, sir.
Is that the day that the software will be fully installed
That's
and
my understanding.
operational?
Yes.
Or is it the day that we'll be completing the software development?
According to Charles Gray, as of yesterday, because I asked the same question,
I'm writing this down. December 31st, 2018.
Commissioner, what I'm saying
Is
is
when the software will be fully installed and
That's what-
operational.
that's my understanding, yes. And I got that information from the director of the Tech Share program. And I also know that Dallas County is going to smoke test with theirs already, and they're going into smoke test in December. And they're going to be implemented in April and full implementation by June of 18.
Okay.
So
We are paying M&O. It is our way of advancing the revenue to keep the operation at TechShare going, basically in terms of implementation, right?
what it does, it allows us to continue to do maintenance of the software that's been implemented.
Does this
M&O.
include customization of the software
Yes.
for our implementation?
Yes, sir.
I move approval.
Second. Any other discussion? Commissioner Wynn, I mean, you participated in the phone calls, and I didn't hear these questions from that standpoint. So is this something that just came about, or
No, it's just,
what?
the implementation of the courts, the guideline, the benchmarks, the financials going into the development of the software is very blurry to me. Okay.
Well, again, that's why we had invited you to be a part of these phone calls, is to try to keep that and try to explain that process. I mean, we have said that once the development is complete and we begin the implementation, that it is not fair for one county that is where the implementation is going on to bear all of the cost of maintaining and operating the program, because our technical committees keep meeting. They keep discussing things that are going to be changed. Each year we go into a management or maintenance and operation agreement, which talks about what changes and improvements we're going to continue to make to the program on an annual basis. But what we decided in the procedure that we've taken is, once we move out of the development stage, we still have to maintain and operate the program.
Right. Okay. I haven't fully understand why we are putting a $1 million. I'm trying to understand that. But it seems like the court was ready to move ahead and vote. That's why I have no other option but to vote no. If the court allow me some time so I can ask my questions and fully understand why we are advancing $1 million.
We're not advancing $1 million. What we're doing is the technical committee, the stakeholder committees have said that over the next year,
Okay.
in the maintenance and operation of each one of the programs, because we're going from here to our juvenile program, to our prosecutor program, and to our indigent defense program.
I don't have a problem with those because those software are fully installed and operational. My question is, my understanding is that the court module has not been fully developed yet. The core of the software is still under development. So if that was true, and tell me if that's not true, if that was true, then how come we are paying maintenance and operation on a piece of software that have not been fully developed? And that's my question.
The core of the software has been developed.
The core software is
Yes,
developed.
yes, it has, because that software, that core, is being implemented, and they're doing smoke tests in Dallas within the next 30 days. Okay, so they've implemented that. They're going to be going live, my understanding is in April, and then finally in June of next year, they're going to bring it in different courts at a time. Ours, we've already gone through phase one. We're doing those things, somewhat of a fit gap, if you will, but some of the things that our entities want that is a little bit different than the core,
Okay.
which we all do in almost any software that we implement. There are some pieces of the software that we're looking at yet. One is the financial module, and that's either a buy-bill piece, and we've gone out on an RFP on that.
But that is a separate piece, right?
Yeah, well,
That will be,
it'll eventually be part of the court process.
right, but it will be a standalone project. It won't be tied to the court.
No, we've already got the RFP back now.
But from a financial standpoint, it should be a standalone project, right?
it's not a standalone project. It'll be part of the court system itself. But every county is doing their own individual finance because, quite frankly, there is a discussion, do we build that software for finance? Or do we use an existing product, like the county clerk has a product that she's using currently? Or do we use something that we can have SAP do that functionality for us? And so we're going through that. But that element will be completed and be part of this package by the time we're fully implemented.
Okay, so what I hear from you is this. You stated that the core software of court has been developed.
It's my understanding, yes.
Okay. What we are going through right now is a fit gap analysis to basically compare between the structure of the software and the current operation of Tarrant County to identify any gap. Right. And then we will adjust the software to fit our needs.
Right. And quite frankly, monies that are included in the M&O piece are used to help pay for whatever fit gap modifications we need to do. Now, Commissioner, I'll be more than happy to again get Mr. Gray up here so that we can meet. If you have any further questions about this, I didn't anticipate that you wanted this type of detail, but I'll be more than happy to get Mr. Gray up here to again so that we can have a conversation.
These are basic, very key benchmarks of the court development. Okay.
Well, Commissioner, understand something. If we begin to go through the iterations of data, moving data over from the old system, data migration, okay, then we have to have some of the software already completed and basically in at least the sandbox for us to do that. And we've done that. We have 4 different iterations that we're going to utilize before we go fully live on the software. So we're assured that the old data is being brought over. Out of those 4, we've already done 1 of those iterations. So we're implementing now. We're doing fit gap related issues now, as Commissioner Brooks alluded to. And the policy has been that whenever we have a piece of software that is being implemented in one jurisdiction, as the judge said, that the sharing of the maintenance and operation of that software is shared by all the users, and that's what we're here today for.
Okay. So right now, the $1 million that we are paying for is going toward M&O, and that money is being used to pay for the labor to conduct a fit gap analysis of the software that has been fully developed already, but needs to be adjusted to fit our operation.
That's my understanding.
It's also to maintain and operate the software that has been developed and that will eventually be utilized by all of the counties that implement it. Dallas is in the implementation stage right now. We will be in the implementation stage by the end of next year, if not before then. And Midland County is right behind that. And one of the things that we talked about,
will we be in the implementation stage by the end of next year?
We'll be going live in December of next year. And by the way, Potter County is already the JP piece of courts has already been implemented in Potter County.
So all of those counties are paying in the M&O. And as one of the things that we discussed yesterday was the possibility of, if we select and go with Sagetti, that we will be able to implement much quicker. Because as I stated at the very beginning of this conversation, right now, as far as TechShare goes, we do not have the staffing available to implement in all 4 counties, or all 3 additional counties at the same time.
Right, yes.
And so one of the things that we're looking for is to be able to accelerate that ability. But part of that M&O is to maintain the program, the storage of the program, the data that goes into that program. Part of it is also to continue to improve what we call evergreening within TechShare. This says that on an annual basis, we're going to have a group of the technical users who tell us the things that they would like to see changed, that they feel like can improve the software on an annual basis. It then goes up to the stakeholder committee, and they look at the budget and they say, okay, we think we can do all of this or not, and they change the budget. That budget is then approved at the stakeholder level, and then at the oversight committee level, and ultimately at CUC's level. And then once that's done, the cost of that is allocated out among the counties that are in the development or that were in the development or have since bought in. And that's what we see there. And so these amounts that we see are the things that are evergreening the program that we have, taking care of operating the program that we have as it is right now, and continuing to improve and move forward with that. That's separate and apart. Dallas will be paying for an implementation program. Tarrant County will pay for an implementation. Midland will pay for an implementation. And during the course of that, there will be how do we melt together the software and whatever procedures we've got in place right now within our courts area, within our prosecutor, juvenile, and in each one of these things that have been done in the past. But that's implementation.
I understand that. My only confusion is I thought the court software is not fully developed yet, but according to GK, he stated that the software has been fully developed. And now we are in the process of implementation and installation.
But understand that in the M&O, every year there will be continuous adding to and things done to it.
Yeah, that's an update process. That's natural to any software process. I understand that. Right.
Remember if I could just repeat myself, the core elements have been completed. We're going through a fit gap analysis now.
The core elements of the software, the core components of the
Commissioner,
software.
if you would like to have a much deeper dive into exactly where we're at on that, I'll be more than happy to once again set up a meeting with Mr. Gray and yourself and myself and whoever else wants to meet so that you can get a full understanding. Quite frankly, I was under the impression that the court was aware of what we were doing. This process that we're doing now is a policy that this court has utilized on all of our text share programs. And that's whenever the program goes live, that in any one of the participating counties, that all the counties begin to pay M&O. And that's what our request is today.
Okay.
Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the court, we can now go to item number 4. We're requesting that the court approve the text share, the text share juvenile and juvenile case management system. The basic 2018 resource sharing addendum between the county and CUC.
Move approval.
Second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members, we can now go to item number 5. We're requesting that the court approve an agreement between Tech Share Prosecutor 2018 Resource Sharing Addendum between the county and the CUC.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion to second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Then finally, members of the court, on item number 6, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve the Tech Share Prosecutor 2018 Resource Sharing Addendum between Tarrant County and the CUC.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion to second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I bet we have Shauna Smith here now.
I am.
Come on down.
I apologize.
That's all right.
Meeting and running late with some students.
GK extended his program, part of the deal, so that you would be here and be sure and be here by the time. Thank you, Commissioner Wynn, for participating and helping GK spread this out a little bit.
That was my design, by the way.
Yeah, I see. It just worked out perfectly.
Please come earlier next time.
This proclamation is with regards to Tarrant County Adoption Day, and we appreciate very much you being here. And I'll read this into the record. Whereas thousands of Texas children live in foster care, hoping for a loving home to join, and approximately 1,100 of these children are in Tarrant County. And whereas these children would benefit from a loving, stable, nurturing, and safe home, and whereas adoption allows children to grow in a safe, loving, and nurturing environment, as adoptive parents take on the role of guiding, teaching, nurturing, and loving these children to support them in becoming productive citizens. And whereas we commend these families for the love and commitment they make to enhance the lives of these children, and whereas the children being adopted today by these loving and special families will have a new opportunity in life to fulfill their hopes and dreams, and whereas this is a special day to celebrate, and we send our best wishes to the children whose adoptions are made final today, as well as the wonderful families who will give them unconditional love. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby proclaim November 17th, 2017 as Tarrant County Adoption Day, in witness whereof we have hereunto set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 14th day of November 2017, and I'll move its approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. I have a resolution or a plaque that I'll bring down. I believe that I saw several stuffed animals that Commissioner Wynn has procured or has had people volunteer and bring forward. I hope that's for a National Adoption Day.
That's exactly what they are for. My niece was adopted as well.
Oh,
Yes,
thank
so,
you, we appreciate it.
Adoption personally touches me, so I appreciate you.
Thank you.
We gotta get a picture. Now, go ahead and set this one out. She's gotta get at least 3 shots. This one only requires about 1. Here we go. Thank you for coming down.
I just want to share that my niece speaks 3 languages, English, Vietnamese, and Spanish.
Oh, wow,
And
that's very
she
impressive.
does so in 1 sentence.
I don't want to take too much time from the court. I just wanted to say thank you, and your appreciation of National Adoption Day is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Young lady, is that, whose purse is that sitting on? Hers? Okay.
Elections. Karen, come on down. How are you this morning?
Doing fine, sir. Thank you. Thank you for entertaining our proposal this morning that we have. It is requested that the Commissioners Court approve changes to the voting precinct boundaries effective January the 1st, 2018, in accordance with Texas Code Section 42.006. A little background on this: the proposed precinct boundaries changes are required to comply with Texas Election Code Section 42.006 that require a county election precinct must contain at least 100, but not more than 5,000 registered voters. There are 17 precincts that have been identified for precinct boundary changes. 12 of the proposed precincts have been identified with having more than 5,000 registered voters. The other 5 boundary changes have been proposed to accommodate population growth or to eliminate some voting precincts that are very small or contain few registered voters. The proposed changes, if adopted, will result in a total of 704 voting precincts, up from the current total of 694. And the Elections Department sees no fiscal impact, as we will be combining most of these with existing polling places. If you have any questions, I will entertain them, or Ms. Benavides from our office will help me as well, because she did some of this work on this.
Any questions?
No. Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Glenn.
Move to receive and file the personnel agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. And I see you missed at least 20 steps. Mr. Beecham, I never got my picture. You told me you were going to give me a picture of the score, the final score, and you were going to have the scoreboard in the background. Bath and Body Works.
Well, I felt bad about that. I was in Baton Rouge last weekend, and I apologize. My phone went dead. I had no charge. So I brought you some stuff, just like you were there with me.
Yeah.
First, I mean to mention, if I could, what a great day, purchasing, budget, risk management. We're having our heat and sweet sale, and of course, Robert Early's report today. Starts at 11 o'clock, chili, Frito pie, and baked goods in the first floor. If you purchase it, you can certainly come to our third floor conference rooms and eat lunch, or go to the second floor. But a couple of observations about Tiger Stadium. Farrington Field is probably a newer facility than Tiger Stadium. Commissioner Fickus, Tiger Field actually is absolutely a one-ply facility.
I've been there.
Whoa.
It's kind of referred to as Death Valley,
Yeah.
especially for folks from Arkansas.
I had ate at Sammy's, Chimes. I had
Chimes, yeah.
good
Did you
place.
see my son's plaque on the wall?
I can't say that I did,
Well, see, you missed it.
but
You didn't
I'll go
look too
back.
well.
I had alligator, which is like underwater seafood, underwater chicken. Pretty good. The concessions were a little testy there. They had like a Cajun dog. I think they were telling the truth. In a big drink cup for like $13, plus a refill, which is a pretty good deal, really. Jerry's World is probably $13 just for the cup. The monitors were kind of testy, like 60s or 70s monitors in the stadium, but I don't think I've ever had more fun getting beat. 33-10. I actually sat fourth row from the bottom of the stadium, 45-yard line behind our bench, and it had a flyover, and they actually had Dallas Keuchel, pitcher for the Astros, who's a U of A grad, and Bergman, who's an LSU grad, World Series, introduced them at halftime, and it was Veterans Day, and had some neat stuff. I went by an adult watering hole, and it was pretty hot there. I Ubered over to the stadium. I never could figure out if I was north, south, east, or west, but I had to walk about. They said, well, go to the baseball stadium, which is pretty far from the football stadium, to find a cross street for Uber to pick me up. And there's this facility that had a sign that said, let's turn those hogs into bacon. And so I said, we going in there. And we flung the doors open. I said, bacon here. And I didn't pay for a drink or food for a couple hours, so it was kind of a good deal. But I brought some stuff. Tylenol from the lobby. Being from purchasing, I stayed at the Best Value Inn, kind of a neat place. Brought you some shampoo and stuff for a couple of days. Some soap. Full bath or shower. Halloween candy from the lobby. Some Ghirardelli peppermint bark. What is chicory? Is that is it a fruit or a vegetable or?
No,
Coffee.
coffee.
Well,
They put it in coffee to ruin it.
I did bring you some, and it's about half price from what you can buy it around here. I know in Arkansas we take bark to the sawmill. You make lumber. We don't sprinkle it on grits or mashed potatoes, but and a couple of ceremonial cups from the ball game. But I did have a good time. It was again. I've never had more fun getting beat.
Well, they'll party with you.
Had a
That's
good
why
time.
they don't worry about the monitors in the stadium, because most of them will blurry by the time they
Well,
get
they
in there
were.
anyway.
And the guys were talking about playing early. I said, well, bad teams play early. We played early all year, so get used to it. So. But we have one business item for your consideration this morning. It is a bid award recommendation for bid 2018-020, annual contract for graphic and photographic supplies. Our recommendation would be to award a per unit price basis, awarding to the primary, secondary, and alternate vendors as shown in court communique.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion to second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Glad you had a good time, even if you did get seated. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Is that consideration for a vote?
Okay, are there any appointments today?
Your Honor, we do have one item under budget that we.
And we missed?
We did.
Risk Management Board is recommending the payment to a claimant that's listed on your court communication, Julio Yonez.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion to second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Are there any appointments? Yes, I have an appointment of Michael Demas to replace Dr. Trevino on the Child Protective Services Board. Y'all have his resume there, and he has gone through the background check.
Second. Who's here?
He's Dr. Elizabeth Trevino. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. You have before you the claims, including the addendum.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion to second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items, Mr. Manius?
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we have one item, which is the monthly update from the hospital district. Mr. Early is here to address the court at this time.
Mr. Manius? Judge, Commissioners, thank you all very much for allowing me to be here. I wanted to tell you that with 6,500 employees interacting with 1.2 million patients a year, no day is the same. And sometimes you wake up and you hear really tough news. And sometimes some of our employees may not make the best of decisions. And we feel bad for them and we try hard. Some of them make great decisions and do wonderful work. And I'm proud of those people over there. But with Thanksgiving coming up next week, I want to say thank you to you as a court, and I want to say thank you to those behind me who have provided not only me, but more importantly JPS, an incredible amount of support, which I appreciate. And I think that in the world that you all live in as elected officials, where none of your days are the same as the day before, when constituents call on all different matters, and you're trying to find out the value of how to make change that's positive, that next week is a great opportunity to just take a break and think about your family and your friends and everybody else. And it's not a speech on my part. It's just we live in worlds that are really difficult and really tough, and they don't go the way you want them to go. And sometimes it's good to take that opportunity to just take a break during Thanksgiving, as President Lincoln said, and realize the value of spiritualness and guidance that we all need. So I think that's something that we need to have. And sometimes at JPS, when you live in a world that doesn't operate the way you want it to, sometimes you just need to say thank you and realize that there are people at JPS today that are not doing as well as we are. And sometimes putting that in perspective makes some of our little things go away and bigger things put in perspective. I have for you that I'll be sending to each one of your offices basically a year update of how many patients we saw, the certifications that we received. I look forward to 2018 because I see 2018 as a far greater level of collaboration that JPS will have. Collaboration with advanced movements with MHMR, advanced movement with public health, advanced movement with public-private ventures, new relationships that we have with physicians, new groups that we're dealing with, new outcomes that we're looking at. We will be working on 2018 is the year that our destination metrics come due that we've been working on. We'll be working with the board, and I'll be listening to their guidance as to our new destination metrics or revisions of those and where we head in the next 3 to 6 years at JPS. Looking forward to the possibility of what we do and how we interact with the community, whether that be just in JPS's daily operations, or it may be the opportunity to ask them to support JPS in different and unique ways, or routine ways. Maybe ask that we asked in 1985, we'll look again and look at the same ask of that nature and go forward. But I'll get to you all the statistics that we have. We continue to see large increases in our emergency room, large increases with our behavioral health. I also want an opportunity to have today to thank the Blue Ribbon Committee for the incredible work that they did, the tours that they took. There was no stone unturned by that Blue Ribbon Committee. Your efforts and your leadership on this court. And it's interesting because I get questioned all the time from people who are not listening very well to this debate. Did the court step in? Did the court do this? Why did you get delayed? I want to tell you that I think the Blue Ribbon Committee was one of the best ideas. I was supportive of it from the beginning. So was JPS in its totality. And it's been hugely profitable to have people from the community that you appointed that had no bias one way or the other come look at JPS for all of its good, bad, and indifferent and come out with a report that I think is phenomenal. And I think the community can look at that and say, we had an objective group of people look at JPS. So today I come to you in an effort of thanksgiving that shouldn't be forgotten. And we should be thankful for who we are, where we are, and what we're doing. And I don't mean to be flippant or silly about that. It's just you all live in tough worlds. And sometimes it's nice to look around and see what you got. And that's what I hope y'all will do next week, and I'll do the same. If y'all have any questions, I'll be happy to entertain them. But I don't want any questions like you've had previously today in the meeting. So any other questions you have, I'd be happy to take.
Well, thank you, Mr. Early. I would be interested in the new destination metrics.
We will we will definitely keep you up to date personally and through your board appointees as well. We look forward to that discussion taking place next year as we go through that process. And some of them do need to be revised. We've hit some of those goals. Some of those goals need to be new goals. 3 to 6 years in healthcare is an eternity sometimes, especially with the ever-changing methods in which we have. So,
You know, the one thing I will add to what you said about the Blue Ribbon Committee, I think I think the folks that everybody appointed were excellent. They were leaders within the community. I will tell you that a number of them that I have talked with have indicated how their eyes were opened to what JPS did and the level of work that they did and the challenges that they had. And they were surprised. They had no idea in a lot of instances. And some of these were healthcare people. I think it was a excellent exercise. I think we're going to get some great feedback from them. I think it speaks to our need, though, to continue to educate and to inform people about what JPS, this metrics that you're fixing to give us for the last year. I think it's extremely important that we try to get that out and let folks know what is happening at JPS, and not only at the downtown facility, but really throughout the county, at the clinics, at the medical home, at the school-based clinics, throughout Tarrant County. And I want to tell you how much I appreciate your willingness to do that and the transparency that you've placed on that.
You bet. Thank you.
Is there any way that we can issue that report? I know we are like 99.9% to the final report. I'm talking about the Citizens Blue Ribbon Committee report. Is there any way that we can release
My
that?
understanding that we've got it at the printers now.
Oh, really? Okay. You got the printer. So maybe when the board consider and assess the new destination metrics, they can take the content of that report into consideration.
Oh, very much so.
Maybe
Yeah,
that may affect the new strategic initiatives.
Sure.
Who knows?
Definitely. It's a wonderful blueprint for us. And to your point, Judge, we don't have the advertising budget that a lot of our colleagues have. We just don't. And in fact, if we spent that kind of money, I think we'd be fairly criticized, and rightly criticized, for using that money to advertise as opposed to providing direct patient services. So we have to take different methods to do it. And that's what was so rewarding about the breakfast that we had 2 weeks ago that many of y'all attended, which I appreciate, talking about JPS and JPS's attempt to reach philanthropic givers. And we are now ahead of where we were last year with that event, and we've raised more money thus far at this point than we did last year. We're still calculating what we did, but that's a sign too of support from the community. we're oftentimes in the eye of what goes right and what goes wrong. And sometimes those are elevated with the amount of citizens that we see and what we do. But I am proud of JPS, and I'm proud of where they've been and where they're going. And y'all's direction has been helpful to us. So I'm very thankful.
I'd just like to say about the Blue Ribbon Committee process that committee came up with some unanimous and very concrete recommendations about where we should go to make JPS the healthcare institution of choice in this community, and how we can fit it for the coming decades. I would like to encourage this court not to lose the momentum that was generated through this process. Let's take the next steps, and let's do it without delay.
Well, I think to that point, Commissioner, and I appreciate I think what happened in the Blue Ribbon Committee is people understood the value of a training facility. People understood to other hospitals in the community what 120,000 people mean in our emergency room and what that would be like if we weren't there. What it means to take care of over 60,000 patient encounters from correctional health. What it means to decompress the county jail from its mental health patient standpoint. And I think that Blue Ribbon Committee really outlined a lot of not only just what JPS does, but the fabric of JPS being so instrumental to other healthcare institutions in town. For those that say, I don't go to JPS and I have another facility, you will be significantly impacted if JPS doesn't thrive and survive in the future. So your words are well taken. Thank you. So, all right. I'm out of y'all's hair. Have a great Thanksgiving and realize the importance of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Your Honor, that's all we have at this time.
Then we will recess our open meeting and proceed to close to discuss items exempted under section 551.071, 072. The other thing, we can get older. Need more than naps.
I don't do now.
See what you got to look forward to?
Thank you, Judge.
Having returned from our closed session, there being no business to conduct at this time, we are adjourned.
Okay. Mr. Ponder?
It is cold.